Record time grilled cheese. Also a feminist, I remember the grilled cheeses. Shout out to you if you know what I'm talking about. How well y'all can see the turtles that are under the water. Somewhere up there. Only they dived off. Look at that guy. Yeah, y'all can see the ones that have their heads off the water. Lots of them. He just jumped off that little, like, they have some really good hearing or something. Jupiter up there. Guys, when you have a migraine, just everything. My books are falling. When I was setting up the camera, the SD card was playing tricks on me. The speaker fell, and I hate to start these things sounding like a pessimist. But this week's vlog, we are going to be timing my reading, seeing how much I read in a vlog by time. Here's the weekly TBR. Let's go over it. First, we had the Metamorphosis and Other Stories by Franz Kafka. Wasn't able to get to this today. Franz Kafka, classic German literature. I hope he's German, he might be Austrian. Then our main pick that I'm going to be reading in this vlog is the last of my literary fiction books on the TBR this month, and it is a piece of translated literature coming from Ecuador, and that is the Potbellied Virgin by Alicia Yanez Cosillo, translated by Amelia Gladhart. Let's find out what it's about. In an unnamed town in the Ecuadorian Andes, a small wooden icon, La Virgen Pipona, which means the Potbellied Virgin, conceals the documents that define the town's social history. History recently has been dominated by the women of the Benavides family, a conservative clan, and not coincidentally, the caretakers of the Virgin. Their rivals are the Pandos, a family led by 4 old men who spend their days smoking in the park across from the Virgin's cathedral and offering revisionist visions of local and national events. When a military skirmish threatens the Virgin and the secret in her famous belly, the Benavides women must scramble to preserve their place as local matriarchs without alerting the old Pandos to the opportunity that might enable them to finally supplant their rivals. One of Ecuador's foremost contemporary writers, Alicia Yanez Cosillo, illuminates the complexity of Andean society by placing disenfranchised players such as women and Amerindians on stage with traditional powers such as the military and the church. Folk wisdom exemplified in the Potbellied Virgin by the beautifully translated proverbs so popular with the Benavides and the Pandos alike stands up to historical record. Such inclusiveness ultimately allows the whole truths of Yanez Cosillo's subjects to emerge. Only the second of her novels to be translated into English, The Potbellied Virgin, is a funny, focused portrait of Ecuadorian life in the 20th century. Kind of reminds me of Irene Solo. We will see if that comparison stays true, but I'm going to be starting that today. Reading it physically. I was going to do the audiobook, but there's no audiobook in English. Next, we have my mood read. This is in my quest to read historical fiction books in chronological order. This is the second book in a series, so I'll just tell you what the first book is about. But that is The Valley of the Horses, a novel by the author of The Clan of the Cave Bear, Jean M. Aul. This is the Earth's Children's series, but we have Ayla, who is a young girl, a human girl, who is an orphan, loses her people, and ends up with a clan of Neanderthals. Lastly, we have my ebook, which is Texas Rich by Fern Michaels. This is taking place in Philadelphia, believe it or not, during World War II, and we are going to apparently follow a matriarch of a Texas family, and those are the books that I'm going to be reading in this vlog. Now, I am off to a very late start today because I took a nap at lunch because I don't want to call this a migraine. It's like a headache, and it's on its way out. But I got delayed and didn't get to film anything till 1 o'clock. It's now almost 3 o'clock. I'm gonna try to make a grilled cheese in record time and have that and then read. It's time for the update. on the Potbellied Virgin. So I only read 21 pages because y'all know I had the headache earlier, and I was only able to read like 5 pages at a time. And I did read the introduction as well. And y'all know I've talked about it before. I hate how introductions are Roman numerals because you can't really count that. And this was, you know, a good sized, I would say over 10 pages. Yeah, over 10 pages, 20-page introduction. And I'm not able to count that into Goodreads or in any of my statistics because, I mean, I technically could count it in like my reading journal, but I can't count it on any of the apps, and this is frustrating because yes, I did spend my time reading that. Basically, the introduction was about the history of Ecuador from its time of independence from Spain to when the book has taken place, which is in the mid-century, the 60s and the 70s. The book was published in 1985 for reference, and it was explaining some of the cultural things like the racial demographics, religion that we see in Ecuador, and also the like 3 regions of the country and what the author words that the author might use to describe certain bits of Ecuadorian and Andean culture. It says Andean, but we're taking what I've read so far has been in what they described as like the getting close to the Amazon rainforest. So we'll just have to see, because again, I'm only 12% of the way into this book, but I do have notes. But I did want to know what the introduction was about. I do think the introduction was beneficial to read for the cultural parts. For the history parts, I do think the author did a good job explaining those in the book itself, but I do think colonization is going to be a big theme here. As I said, this is taking place in the 1960s, so we are kind of far away from the time that Ecuador was being colonized by the Spanish, but there's still an impact from that, and that you can still see the aftershocks of colonization. So I think the Benavides are going to represent that European culture, because they've tried very hard to keep the blonde hair and to stay very European by marrying European and North American families. And then we had the Pondos, who they had to change their name to a more Spanish name, but they are a mix of Spanish and Europe, or not Spanish. They are a mix of Native American indigenous people and European people. And we're just seeing a divide between these two groups of people, and both are trying to assert their dominance over this community, and religion is a big part of that. This is a very Catholic country. It did talk about the country's relationship with the Vatican. Also, a lot of Reynolds sentences that we are seeing in our translated fiction that I've been reading this month. I'm not a fan of Reynolds sentences. That's something that is not I don't see it a whole lot in English-speaking literature, but apparently in Swedish and Spanish we do. And this is another way of how I was talking about the themes of colonization. The best thing they can do is watch the crazy Magdalena and her wild gallop, and what they hate about her is what she represents, the strength and the power that they once held in their hands, that was wrenched away from them with the twisted force of the law, taking from them the land that had belonged to their grandfathers and that extended across every known climate. The lands that had always belonged to the Pondos until the first Benavides arrived and changed both landscape and customs. The Pondos then had to Hispanicize their surname, exchange their rope-soled sandals for worn-out shoes, their rough homespun for mended shirts, and their racial pride for I don't know that word, I'm sorry, but they had to change a lot. But this was a part that I really liked, the sentence. It's very much like cult vibes, and very much, it reminds me of some of these ancient religions that we've seen. And how I kind of talked about the colonization, we're also seeing like a modernization, because the Benavides will come from the city, from a big city, and go to this remote village to change the clothes of the Virgin statue. 3 of them came wearing mini skirts, and we are in the 60s, so all these other people in the remote town, they're like, oh my gosh, what are they wearing? What's wrong with them? Are they okay? Did their clothes get ripped? Why are they in these things? So we are seeing just that cultural, it's changing, but we see that all over the world. But this is the little paragraph that I liked. She draws back. She descends the stairs with the acclimated sadness of all the Vestal virgins and daughters of the sun and of the moon who have occupied the temples of the enigmatic east and of the ancient west. She mounts her horse, whips it, and departs. That's after she visits the Virgin and says her prayers before the Virgin. And I have 2 more tabs. This is only on page 11. We are being introduced to so many people at once. A lot of them have the same last names, and even if they're not in the same family, they both start with M's, and I'm getting very confused because we're being introduced to a lot of people at once, and I don't understand how they are all connected. But yes, what I read today was a lot of world building of this town in the Andes. Again, I'm kind of confused. It said Andean, but we're not really. It doesn't seem like we're in the Andes, but we are getting a lot of building of this town. And on the back it does say Andes. Okay, I'm sorry. Migraines had me going crazy, but a lot of world building, and that's a lot to take in. So this one is kind of overwhelming me at the moment, but hopefully when I am not riddled tomorrow, knock on wood, it'll be better. Also, it's 91 degrees here today. I don't know if this is our first day that we've hit the 90s so far this year. I don't remember if it is or not, but it was hot today, and we are going to read outside tomorrow. Since we have hit the end of the day, I am going to put how many hours or minutes we have read so far, or I have read so far over here on the side of the lucky. I was supposed to close these blinds when it hit 85 degrees. It's over 85 and I forgot to close them because it was so hot in here last night. I was sweating. It was disgusting. And obviously y'all needed to know that. But I've gotten to 55% in the Metamorphosis and Other Stories by Franz Kafka. So I'm going to talk about the story I just read, which was Fragment. It says The Stoker, a Fragment. So I don't know if this is like a fragment of a full book. But basically we have Carl, who is from Europe. I don't know where in Europe, but he's from Europe. And he allegedly got a maid pregnant, so his family was like, we're sending you to your auntie and uncle in Bel Air. No, but they're like, we're sending you to your uncle in New York, in America. Bye. So he goes on this boat, and it's like just a very embarrassing experience that Carl has to go through. Consequences of his action. Low-key sexual assault. I don't know if that was the intention, but I would put that as a trigger warning for this story, for this one instance that I was not expecting. And I don't know when that was published, but for this time period of when I'm imagining, which is the early 20th century, I was kind of shocked to see the details that were written. Read very, not that scene in particular, I'm talking about the whole story, read very modern, like this would be a literary fiction to come out today, but set in the 1910s. It didn't do a whole lot for me, but I mean, it's not bad. I can see why people would like it. Just read very modern, but so many of these writers from different countries have been so long-winded, and I know people are like, you're not an intellectual because you can't read all that. Okay, I did read all of it, but it's just not my preferred writing style. Okay, this was originally published in 1913, and so it started as a story, but eventually became the first chapter of Kafka's novel America, with America being spelled with a K. That's why I pronounced it like that. Yeah, so that is what we're dealing with Franz Kafka. Like, I don't think any of this is bad, but none of it is like completely new content for me where I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. It's fine. I can see why people would like it, but it's not doing a whole lot for me personally. It is time for the nightly update on the Potbellied Virgin. I read it 60 pages, and here today, a whole lot more than yesterday. I read outside. Oh, and for our reading time, we have hit the 2-hour mark. We're almost at the 3-hour mark. But I have started to skim in this because it's not doing anything for me. I want to get through it as fast as possible. So not good for this challenge, but for my mental well-being. No, it's not that deep. But let's go through the tabs that I took on day 2. The first one is, I do not understand what the point of that intro was, because we are getting a lot of history of the country of Ecuador, and it's very heavy-handed. And I'm like, I read all this already in the introduction, so I am really like, this month I've realized I shouldn't read introductions to books because they tell me all this stuff. So then when I'm reading an actual book, I'm like, yeah, I know this already because I read that in your 15-page introduction. Make it make sense. And else we are seeing here is that religion has had such a hold on this isolated community that is in the Andes. It says the worship of the Potbellied Virgin is waning, while the Pernicus, I don't know, new doctrines brought to the town by Manuel Pando, who got tired of so much fuss that he became a communist, doesn't mind saying it, and they're thriving. But we are seeing this community who has been very isolated, but now as the world is progressing and going forward, things are changing there. Religion isn't holding as much, and religion in Ecuador at this time is very much waning. It's not having the hold that it had in previous decades. I don't know if it's because of the rise of communism, but we are getting an entrance to the military has started to really make things, like we had a riot basically in the book today, and the military brought guns. We are just seeing more of it going from a religious state to more of a military state. But a lot of today that I read was we have Donna Carmen, who she is trying to make a deaconess, I guess is how you say that. She wants there to be a deacon in the village because there hasn't been for a long time, and people are having to travel far to get their babies baptized, to get married. That some of them are living in sin because they're like, we don't have the means to travel to be married by a priest, so we're just gonna live together, and when we do get all settled and have everything ready to go, we can go and get that done. So she is writing to the Pope, she is writing to everybody. She's like, please bring a priest to our village. That was the main like quest today in the book. We are also seeing who writes history, that being in this case the natives, the Europeans who colonized. Does religion get to write it? Does the military get to write it? Who writes history has been a big theme in this book. As when I read y'all the blurb on Monday, you can kind of see that the Potbelly of the Virgin holds the documents that define the town's history. They're just trying to fight of who is right, what is the real history of this town. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle between the two factions, but those are the thoughts so far on the Potbellied Virgin. Let's do our time update for Tuesday. Here it is. We have hit the 3-hour mark. There's always something. It's Wednesday. I wore new flip-flops today, and the like little strap part tore up both of my feet. They're all scratched up, so it hurts to wear shoes that have like a covering on top, and my slippers are like, that's so sad. But I did pick up a book today. Did I need to? No, but I kind of wanted to because I haven't bought a book in weeks. I got Verity Guild by my Corland. This is a romantasy book, but I saw these frayed edges on the app yesterday, and I was like, does this have anything to do with Rome? It has said, I always mess up what I'm trying to say when I say that, but it's been described as, that's what I'm trying to say, Knives Out meets Ancient Rome. Now I haven't seen Knives Out, but I know what that's about. But Ancient Rome, I wish it was set in Ancient Rome rather than being a fantasy, but you can't really ask for much these days in that department. So this is what the book looks like naked. And then we do have the sprayed edges. The end pages, we have this, the Jubilee Palace. Oh, the word Jubilee has been coming up a lot this week. And then the same on the back. But Roman inspired fantasy. I am seeing an uptick in this, and I am here for it. Let's do the nightly reading update. I read 74 pages, and we have hit the 4-hour mark in the challenge. Yes, I have food coming because I gave in to the cravings. I really wanted chicken wings. But let's talk about the Potbellied Virgin. I have 2 notes. The first one is that this is just so hard for me to follow, and a lot of this book is a me problem because I started when I was coming down from Sorry, I cannot get my wording right today, but coming down from a migraine is in some pain while starting it. And that is not the way you should start a book. I should have started on Tuesday, should have just waited, but I didn't. And now I'm paying for it by having a boring book review for y'all. It's very hard to follow, and going between the different characters and everything, that it's very all over the place for me personally. But for the characters, so Donna Carmen has been my favorite character. I think she is really intriguing, and one day when I do reread this, I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with her as a character. But if you like books where the main character, because in my mind she's the main character, it takes a little while to get to her, but if you like books where the main character is elderly, this is one for you. And if you like small town politics, you're gonna be getting that here. And just seeing a country go through different kinds of government and how isolated communities deal with change. And that's all for the Potbellied Virgin for the day. I have about 20 something pages left, so we will be finishing it tomorrow. For our time check-in, here it is. We have hit the 5-hour mark. We've had a problem. So it is Thursday now, and in the morning when I wake up, once I get out of bed to go like brush my teeth and that kind of thing, I will put my phone, I'll take it off do not disturb and leave it off until I, get my bath and get in bed for the night. And when it's on do not disturb, I'm getting a lot of notifications, cameras, apps sending me stuff, text, whatever. My screen is constantly on all the time. I'm not gonna say constantly, but I'm getting a lot of notifications in a day. And I must have, so sometimes I just put my phone in my armpit because the shorts that I'm wearing don't have pockets. So therefore, it must have got rid of my stopwatch timer at the bottom. I went to the app. Oh, and when I looked down, it was on the app and it was on 000. Luckily, since I've been doing those check-ins at the end of each day, I do know what we were at. We were at like 5 hours and 22 minutes, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to have to just start from 0 today and then add it into that. And at the end of the video, we will see what that ends up being. Also, just a little health update for y'all. So I haven't had hives to let y'all know, but like I've still been itchy. Not every day, it's not consistent, but usually at nighttime I get itchy. So tomorrow I'm going to switch my bedding because I did get this bedding the weekend before my hives and all that allergic reaction stuff was happening. What I was saying is that basically it's just been a whole process of elimination, trying to find out what is causing this. So I did get the bedding a few days before the reaction started. So my dad thought it might be the bedding, but I was like, no, I think it is something that I ate. And so I thought it might be garlic, but I haven't had garlic since Saturday, and it was like a very like saturated amount anyway. I did have ranch last night, which ranch technically does have garlic in it, but I feel like if it's something that small, that it was not going to cause this. It's just been annoying, and I'm still doing like what the doctor told me to do. He didn't recommend an allergist at the time, and I'm not going to go that route unless I have a severe reaction again. And I saw that the wait time for like that is like 3 months because there's only like one here, I'm pretty sure, from my research of when I was looking into it, because I was like, do I need to do this? But we're just gonna, if I haven't had a major reaction since, knock on wood, we're gonna hope it stays that way. And as I said, I'm doing what the doctor told me to, like if certain things happen, to take this medication and whatnot. But I did want to give y'all like an update because a lot of y'all were like very caring last week of being there for me as I went through that, because it was scary. But yeah, so I just get itchy every now and then. I haven't had hives or anything like that, so I just take some Benadryl, can't talk, but y'all know what I mean. So that, I just did want to give y'all an update on that. And as I always tell y'all, these are like diary entries for me, less personal, but so me in the future, I do like to go back and watch my old vlogs, see what was I doing on this day a year ago. I know this book, which I have sitting right there, they always knock down because I guess, I don't know, I feel like, 'cause she's only like, I think she's 10 pounds, which is shocking. Like, this is 10 pounds. Like, she is so small. She's my smallest pet, and I don't know, like, she feels like she's like 5 pounds, but she is 10 pounds. What did it do? The little girl, the little girl. I just finished the Potbellied Virgin, so we're going to go over my thoughts. I'm giving it a 2.25 over on the social media sites. We are going to start with the characters. I do have my notes on the inner sleeve here. It's a very large cast of characters, and there's practically only 2 names in this community. There are some other ones that are not related in those groupings, but still it is very confusing. And I wish we would have focused more on relationship dynamics of the sisterhood, because I am very intrigued by seeing groups of women together, and when there is kind of like, I don't want to say a hierarchy, but I really like those kind of stories of seeing the dynamics of women in group settings, but you don't get that here, even though it might seem like it. But no, you're not going to get that. Since there are so many characters, we're introduced to a lot of those characters at the same time, and that made it really confusing for me, because I'm being introduced to all these people at once and I'm having to keep their names straight. That was a lot for me. But Donna Carmen is really the only distinguishable one. I can't tell you really about the other characters in this book, but the atmosphere is very unique, as this is taking place in the Andes in Ecuador. I don't think I've read any other book like that. It has very much fairy tale folklore, that's what I should have said. I said folktale, but folklore vibes. So if you do like those and want it in a Latin American setting, this is somewhere you could go. There is nothing fantastical or mystical about this. It's just the way the story is told, the tone of the book. There is a lot of world building at the beginning of the story, getting you familiar with this town. Therefore, a lot of info dumping that I don't necessarily think was necessary for the story. The writing is long-winded. There are paragraphs that go on for pages. I know not a lot of people are a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that personally. So I had a really hard time following this, as it was sporadic at the same time, going between characters, going between locations, going between time periods, where that was a lot for me to take in at once. And this isn't dialogue heavy. You do not get a lot of dialogue. You get maybe 2 lines of dialogue every 2 pages. That's not a lot. It's not. But I do think the plot here is really intriguing, and I do like how the author went about it, as we're seeing themes of colonization and colonialism, where we have one family representing the European colonizers and the other representing the native indigenous peoples that were in Ecuador before the Europeans, and they're all just fighting about who gets to write history. I do think this tells that story in a very unique way, and I love how the author was able to personify those 2 groups of people. And it is also showing isolated communities and how they evolve and move with the time. So it is usually at a lot slower of a pace, but it still is very shocking in how changes in our society, the impacts that it has on smaller communities. But overall, I was just really confused, as this book was all over the place. It didn't do a whole lot for me, and I do know some of this is a personal problem for me, as I started this book with a migraine, and I probably shouldn't have been reading. I needed to focus a lot more, so I do think I needed just to zone in on this book more. So I do think some of this is a me problem, and I am going to revisit it one day, and maybe most definitely I will have a different experience when I do that. We're going to talk about what we are doing next in regards to what we are reading next, because last week I didn't like how I went about the order of reading books, because I feel like it might have put me a little bit behind. No, not really, because I didn't start the details. I just continued with my mood read, and then the mood read I didn't end up finishing in a vlog. So it was like the same thing. If I had started the details, I wouldn't have finished it in a vlog. So I kind of left y'all hanging, and kind of the self promo, like go check out Goodreads, Instagram, Fable, Storygraph, and you can see my review there. But that's not my intention to do that, because this is my main focus. YouTube's the main focus. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and start the next book on my TBR. And this is fun, because remember, I could not find an audiobook for the Potbellied Virgin, which I didn't really expect to find an audiobook for. But on my TBR, I do read a physical book, audiobook, ebook, physical, going in that a list alternating each one because I want to make sure that I'm using my Kindle. I want to be using all the devices, and I just like reading in different formats with different books. It's fun. My next book is my nonfiction pick of the month. I go and I look and nothing was coming up. Like 714 books came up when I looked on the Kindle store specifically, and I was like, okay, that's really hard. I'm gonna go look on Amazon with the author's name. There is not an ebook. There's no ebook. There's no audiobook. You can only get this in hardback or paperback. I got this at half price books, so that's why I didn't order it online, so I didn't know all of that ahead of time. But usually when a book is hardback, it's usually a legit publisher, and I assume that they're gonna have multi formats. But no, as you can see here, it doesn't. Okay, now I do see where it says the publisher, but it's just like an abbreviation, the FSG, which is Farrar Straus, and a French name. My friend's of French ancestry. I'm sorry that I'm and I'm like a quarter French, but that's okay. Besides the point, that I don't know how to say that. Now, this was published in 1999, so this book and I are the same age. Yeah, there's no ebook for it, so we are gonna have to read this physically. And since it is a memoir, I would have liked to do the I think the audiobook would have been fun, but no, there's no audiobook either. Here we go. This is what it's about. Oh, and this is To See and See Again, A Life in Iran and America by Tara Bahrampur. Sorry, I was struggling there for a minute. At the height of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, 11-year-old Tara Bahrampur flew out of Iran with her family and 5 suitcases. After 15 years in America, she became the first member of her family to return to Iran. To See and See Again traces 3 generations of an Iranian family undergoing a century of change, from her grandfather, a feudal lord with 2 wives, to her father, a free-spirited architect who marries an American pop singer, to Bahrampur herself, who grows up balanced precariously between 2 cultures and comes of age watching them clash on the nightly news. Bahrampur describes the exotic Iran of her childhood leading up to the revolution, during which her family participate in mass demonstrations and take cover from gunshots echoing over their garden wall. Afterwards, shell-shocked, they struggle to rebuild their life in the United States. Returning to post-revolution Iran, Bahrampur attends secret parties where young Tehranis, I guess that's how you say that, play out modern courtship. She is detained by police for talking to foreigners, and she visits her grandfather's lost feudal empire, where traces of her family history survive in the crumbling fortresses and jagged mountains of central Iran. A compelling and intimate portrait of a closed world on the verge of transformation. To See and See Again explores the complexity of a bicultural immigrant experience as Bahrampur discovers new ways to look at her past and present. So I do think it's going to be timely, even though this book came out 27 years ago. But I've read several Iranian fiction books. The first one is nonfiction, but The Complete Persepolis, it's somewhere behind me. Favorite graphic novel, 5 out of 5. Read it. I think it needs to be required reading. I know it's banned in a lot of states, but required reading. So important. The Stationery Shop, is that the name? I read that one. That one is my least favorite out of the ones I've read, but still a good book. Disoriental by Najar Dajawadi, which is another 5 out of 5, and I'm getting similar vibes to this one in some of the ways. That one mixed with Persepolis, because in Persepolis, Marjan does go back to Iran, and then in Disoriental, it's exploring the family history as well, which there is some of that like feudalist stuff that we were talking about. Was it feudal? Yeah, feudal. I was making sure. It's like fundamentalist. That's a word that you think of when you think of Iran. I read oh my gosh, what is it? The one that I read that was set in the 90s, and the author liked my review. I got it at Target, and it wasn't a book that I had heard about online. Pause. Sorry about that. It is In the Time of Our History by Suzanne Pari. I gave it 4-star and loved it. So I have really enjoyed the Iranian books that I've read. A lot of them have been about the immigrant experience and basically a fictional version of this. So reading somebody's actual story is super exciting to see how it is all going to end up. This is one that I just found on a whim at Half Price Books in 2024. It sat there for 2 months before I got it. It looks like it was donated there on May 31st, 2024. And I bought it in August, and now I'm reading it in May 2026. To think of the life it lived before it came to me. And it was in Atlanta. I don't know if I said that. It was more so Marietta, but okay, yeah, I cannot start that book. We just got the news that Kyle Busch passed away, and y'all know, like, Penny, my dog, was a huge Kyle Busch fan. Like, I'm being legit serious because of, like, her dog food, so we only said Penny was a Kyle Busch fan. So Kyle Busch is so prominent in this household. We support Kyle Busch. Like, I know Kyle Busch, people love to hate Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch, an icon, Hall of Famer, one of the best to do it. Like, we love how he drives, the being rough and rowdy. Like, I can't comprehend this. Like, I literally, like, do not have words. It's just so crazy to me. And I am, like, when I saw the news, like, I teared up, and I'm shaking. I don't know how you can tell, but, like, I can't comprehend this. Like, I told my friend, I was like, this is my Kobe. Like, I am shocked. I'm not gonna end the vlog right now because I will do the time stamp thing later. But yeah, I'm sorry, I cannot start this book. This, like, we made the mistake with the Potbellied Virgin. We're not doing that again. Like, whew. Now I feel so, like, I'm still in shock over here, but that I can tell y'all the time. So I read a total of 5 hours, 43 minutes, and 20 seconds. And I do plan to read later today. Not in this book, maybe in this book, I don't know. I'm really just like, ugh, like, sudden death, you know, not expecting. Probably get to Texas Rich, maybe the Valley of the Horses. I'm not sure at the moment, but it seems like I read a total of an hour and 40 minutes per day. And I'm actually shocked by that number. I thought it would be more than that, but I'm happy with the amount of reading that I do get done in a day. So this wasn't like a challenge being like, oh, I need to read more, I need to read less. No, it was just for fun to see what, out of curiosity, what that number would be. I have done these challenges in the past, so you guys can definitely look on the channel. I don't know where they were. I don't know when I filmed them, especially now with my mind being rattled. But what are we doing in next week's vlog? We will be doing the reset, preparing for the next month and the next season of reading. As for the book focus, will still be To See and See Again. I read y'all that blurb, so save it for next week. Keep it in your noggin. That's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to be going through the books that I've hauled and putting them on my shelves, going through the books that I read this past month, seeing which ones I'm going to keep, seeing which ones I'm going to donate, putting my stamp in the ones that I keep. We are also going to make a background for my Kindle for the first month of summer, which is June. And we're just going to be getting ready for a new month of reading and a new season, that being summer, which summer reads. I was shocked by the amount of books that have summer vibes when I was putting my list together of seasonal reads, and summer just had so many. I was honestly shocked because you had the classic beach read. Classic. But that is all for this video. If you made it through this whole video, leave a flower emoji in the comments below. And as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.